this video, we'll be discussing about Python standard library. Now with this video, we'll be winding up the theoretical part for chapter 7. And in the next video, we will see different programs related to this chapter. Now we're going to discuss about what is a Python standard library. So when you install Python, you will get some standard library function along with it. Right, so you can just use it inside your program. You don't have to write your own functions to do those activities. So the standard library functions inside Python is classified into two, right? The first one are called built-in function and second are called built-in modules, right? In the previous video, we have studied user-defined functions where we as a programmer write our own functions to do some particular job inside our program. Now here we are going to discuss about built-in functions and collection of built-in functions which is represented as modules. Now what do you mean by a built-in function? Function already defined inside Python are called as built-in function, and it can be directly called whenever required inside the program. Now we were actually using Python built-in function from the first chapter itself, because you can see if you are using this function input inside your program, that is an example for built-in function. If you are using this function print inside your program to print something to the screen, you are actually using the built-in function which is defined inside Python. So in this video, our aim is to study about built-in function and about modules. So first we will see what is built-in functions. Now built-in function in Python is categorized into following. Now you have an input-output category of built-in functions. You have data type conversion built-in functions. You have mathematical built-in functions, and there are other type of functions too. So in the input-output built-in function, now these are the two functions which we always use. Okay, so we already know this input and print function, right? Using input function, you can read a value from the keyboard and store it to a variable, and using print function, you can read the value from the memory of the computer and you can print it onto the screen. Now we have the next type, data type conversion. Now this also we have seen some of our programs. For example, I told you when you read a value using input, by default the value will be read as a string. Now if you want to convert that string to a number, then you have to use the function called int, which will convert this string to a number. Alright, so we were accepting all the number input for our previous program using this data type conversion built-in function called int. Now similarly, if you want to convert a value to Boolean variable, you can use this function. If you want to convert a value to float, you can use type conversion function called float. Similarly, you have string, list, set, etc. You have a third category of built-in function called mathematical function, where you can find the absolute value, division mode, max, min, power, sum, etc. Right? Now other functions you can use. Now the first function is used to import, then you can find the length of a string, then range, type. We have example programs coming in the subsequent slides where we will see majority of these functions performing on values and producing the output accordingly. Now here we are going to demonstrate some example built-in function. So here you can see the ABS or absolute value belongs to mathematical built-in functions. It returns the absolute value of the number that you give inside. So the answer is going to be 10. So the negative sign will be cut off and the absolute value 10 will be returned as the answer. So that will be the output of this print statement. Now we will see the output when we run the program. Let me just explain to you what is the purpose of each one of these functions, and then we will run and see the output. So here diff mode is a function which will divide. You can see the comments here. It performs the division of 5 modulo 2 and it will return two values. The first value will be the quotient after the division, and the second value is going to be the remainder after the division. So the third print statement, you can see we are using the function called max, okay, over a sequence. Max will identify the largest term in it, so the answer will be 51. Now the fourth print statement, where we are trying to print the max value from this string hello. So the output of max depends on the ASCII value of the characters. Alright, so first of all, you should understand ASCII value is just a numerical code given to each button in your keyboard. Right, so the standard ASCII value defines that capital A has value 65, B has value 66. It go all the way up till capital Z having value 90. Now small a is starting at 97, so small b will be 98, small c will be 99. It will go all the way up till small z, and that is given value 122. Right, so this max value will check which character has the maximum ASCII value. So here you can see all capital letters, the ASCII value is less than all small letters. And here, so when you check ELLO, you can understand O has the largest ASCII value when you see this list. Alright, so the answer will be O. Now the fifth print statement will print the minimum value from the sequence, so the answer is going to be 7. And the last print statement will find the minimum value from this string, and of course you know that all capital letters ASCII value is less than all small letters, so the answer is going to be capital H. Now let me just run this program, so I'll hit run. So here you can see the output. First print statement prints the absolute value of -10. So the answer is going to be just 10 because absolute value will remove the negative sign. The next print statement will divide 5 by 2 and it will print a pair as the answer. The first value will be the quotient and the second value will be the remainder. So once you divide 5 by 2, you will get quotient as 2 and remainder as 1. Now the next function, max, will identify the largest value from this sequence. So the answer is coming as 51. Now the next max function will find the character which has the largest ASCII value. I already discussed this, so the answer is O, you can see here. And then the minimum function will identify the least value from this sequence, so the answer is 7. And the next minimum function will identify the character with least ASCII value, so the least ASCII value character is capital H, so that will be the output. So now let us continue. Now this program also is just a continuation of the previous program. So here the first function we are going to study is power. So the function name is POW. Now inside the bracket, if you write 25, it will find 2 raised to 5. So the answer is going to be 32. Now the function POW can also accept 3 numbers as input. It will find the answer of 2 raised to 5. So the answer is going to be 32, and this 32 will be modulo divided by the third number, so that is 10, and you know the remainder is 2. So that will be the result of the second print statement. Okay, you can also have floating point numbers inside the power function. So this will find the answer of 2 raised to 3 raised to 5.6. So whatever is the answer will be printed out. You can have another function called sum, which will add all the values given inside the sequence and it will print the result. You can also add sum with a sequence followed by regular numbers. After comma, you can give 3 more numbers, so it will add all the values in the sequence plus it will add the other numbers that you have given outside the sequence, and finally the result will be printed out. Now the next function, len, is used to find the length or count of values given as input to this function. So this len function will print the result as 3. Why? Because the sequence given inside len has 3 elements. Now len can also be used to find the length of a string, right? So if you give a string inside len function, it will count how many characters are there and the result will be printed. So now let us run this. Alright, so our program is ready. I'll execute it. Now we see we got the answer. So the first function, POW, 2 raised to 5, the answer is 32. The second function I already discussed, 2 raised to 5, 32, then modulo divide by 10, you will get remainder 2. Alright. Now the third function, POW again, but this time we are working with floating point numbers. You will get the answer as 106 dot something. And after that you are trying to add all the elements in the sequence. So the answer is going to be 20 because you add 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. You will see the result is 20. So the next print statement, we are calling the same function sum, but this time there are two input variables, right? So the first input is a sequence which has 5 elements inside it, and after that you have one more value which is outside the sequence, right? So this function sum can add all the elements in the sequence plus the value outside of it. So when you add all these 6 values, you will get answer as 27. Now after that, when you try to find the length of this sequence, it will return how many elements are there in the sequence. So here you can see there are 3 elements, that is why 3 is printed out. Length function can also be used to find the length of a string. So it will count how many characters are there and it will print 5 because hello has 5 characters. So now let us continue. Now next we are going to study about module. So before we see the theoretical part, I just want you to conceptually understand why we require a module, or what's the difference between a function and a module. Now I am writing a Python program, for example, okay, and inside this Python program I have a function called add. Okay, and then I have some statements in it, and I have another function called multiply. I have some statements in it, and after that I have my main program where I have some statements, and here I will call the function add with some values, and after some statement I can call another function multiply. So you should understand this is your function 1 and this is your function 2, right? So you have 2 functions. Now assume that your program requires 10 functions. So if you add all the 10 functions inside this program, now the size of the program will increase too much, right? So what I can do here is that I can take all these functions and move it into another program or another Python file. That file is actually your module. Okay, so module is actually a file where you can list all the functions that you require inside your program. So I can create a module. So you can give any name to module, it's up to you. The only thing is that just like program, you have to give the extension as .py. So I will give my module name mod.py, and then I will move all my functions from my program .py to module. So here I will have function add with all the statements. I will have function multiply with all the statement. I will have function subtract with all the statement. I will have function divide with all the statements. So here you see this module is now a list of 4 functions clubbed together. So now you can rewrite your program program.py. So when I write my program now, I don't have to write this entire code, right? I just have to write a line, say import mod.py. So when interpreter sees this line, interpreter will automatically copy this entire file into your program. So you don't have to worry about it. It will automatically be part of your program and your program can work. Now inside your program.py, you just have to write your program what you want to do. If you want to call add, you can call it. If you want to call multiply, you can call it. The control will go to the module, it will get executed and the control will come back, right? Now if you want to call add, just by calling the name add will not work. Why? Because now add is not there in this file. So you have to write mod.add because that is the name of the file, right? So based on the module name, you have to call the functions. The control will go to the module, it will get executed, and the answer will come back to your file. So when the number of functions increases in your program, you have to consider moving those functions into different modules. And your program will do only the job of calling these modules and getting the work done. Now there is one more advantage for creating a module. Assume that you are writing 3 programs, right? So this is program 1.py, this is program 2.py, this is program 3.py. Now all these 3 programs require these 4 functions. Now if you are going to write these functions in all of them, that is a waste work. You have to do this 3 times. Okay, so what is a smart work here? So you don't include these 4 functions in any of them. You write it as a separate Python file as a module, and for each of these programs you just import it. Right, so you have to write it in only one place, and all the 3 programs can access this code and run these 4 functions. Even though the concept of module is little bit confusing and difficult to you, you should understand very clearly that if you are going to develop some serious projects in Python, you will have to consider developing the software as different modules, right? And finally, you have to combine all the modules together to make it work the way you want. So this is the basic idea of what is a module. So now we will see the theoretical part and the example programs, and then things will be much more clear to you. So now let us officially start the theoretical study of module. So in Python, a large program is divided into different modules, right? So a collection of functions forms a module, as we have discussed before. Now a module is saved as a .py file, so it is just like another program file, right? So you can give any name .py and that becomes a module file. Now the lib folder of Python contains all these standard modules that come along when you download Python. And you can also write your own functions and you can create your own modules. The lib folder has the content of all the standard modules defined inside Python. To view the content of a module in Python, you can use the help command, and after that in bracket you just have to give the module name. It will list all the functions defined in this module. Okay, so you don't have to by heart this, whether this function is available in math module or this function is available in statistics module. You just have to type this command help with the module name as math, and then you can identify which function you want and you can use it inside your program. Now module can be either built-in, okay, if it is built-in you can find it inside the lib folder, or it can be user defined. In the next video we'll be discussing about the programs related to this chapter. In that video we have example of user defined module where we will write our own module and integrate with the program and make it work. Okay. Now if we club all our functions and keep it separate as a module, now how we can use it inside your program? Now if you want to use a module, you have to import it. Now we need to import a module to use it in our program. And how do you import it? You use the keyword import followed by that the module name. Right? If you want to import many modules in one line, you can put a comma, you can give the second module name, you can put a comma, you can give the third module name. So when interpreter sees this line, it will import all the 3 modules into your program, and then your program can start. Now to call a function which is defined inside a module, as I have told you before, you have to use the module name dot function. Now for example, if I create a module with name calculator.py, okay, so I will name it as calc.py. Now inside this module, if I define a function called add, which will accept 2 numbers and print the sum of those 2 numbers. Now in this case, if I want to access this function add, which is defined inside module calc.py, then in my program I have to write calc.add. Now inside the bracket you can specify the 2 numbers that you want to add. So that is why I told you have to give the module name dot function name, and that is how you can access a function which is defined in a module. Now the import statement can be written anywhere in the program. Right, you can write it in the beginning, in the end, but it's always recommended that if you want to import two modules, make it the first statement itself inside your program. A module need to be imported only once inside a program, and after that you can use all the functions defined in the module any number of times. So importing you have to do only one time inside the program. Now there are some modules which are built in Python itself. So let us see that first, and after that we will see how to define our own modules. Now the modules already available in Python library are called built-in modules. Okay, so the commonly used built-in modules in Python are math module, random module, and statistics module. There are a lot of modules available. This is just a small list. So inside math module, it contains different mathematical functions, and most of the functions it returns a float value. All right, so you will get the answer with higher precision with decimal numbers. Okay, like this. Now we have another built-in module called random. This is used to generate a random number between any number that you specify. So if I specify 1 and 20, which can give me random numbers between 1 and 20. So first time when I run it, it may return 7. Next time when I run it, it may return 13. Next time when I run it, it may return 2. So I will get random numbers between this range. Now we have the third built-in module called statistics. Now the statistics module is used to calculating statistics with a given data. Okay, so it can identify the mean or mode. There are many statistical functions inside statistics module. You can use those functions as per your requirement. Now in this program we are going to demonstrate some functions defined inside math module. Now you should understand inside math module there are a lot of functions. Now we are just taking a small number of examples to understand how to use it. So before your program starts, you have to import the math module. Okay, so that's the first line, and after that you can see there are many print statements. Now inside the print statement you are calling function inside the module. So you should understand this first part before the dot is the module name, and after the dot it is actually the function name. So we will be seeing a function called ceil, floor, fabs, and factorial. Now what do you mean by ceil and floor? So assume that you are standing in a room, right, and what is above you is your ceil, and where you stand is the floor. So you should understand, if I take a number 8.31, now what is the ceiling value? The ceiling value is the next highest integer, which is 9. And what is the floor value? That is the next lower integer than 8.31, that is 8. Right? So 8 is the floor value and 9 is the ceil value for 8.31. Now once this print statement start to work, the control will go to module called math. Now inside that module, interpreter will identify the function with name ceil. It will give the value minus 5.6 to it, and then it will return the ceiling value. Alright, now what is the ceiling value of minus 5.6? Okay, so you should understand the ceil and floor for negative numbers works the other way. Just higher integer number than 5.6 is minus 5, and the just lower integer of 5.6 is minus 6. Okay, so now here we are interested in ceiling number, so the answer will be printed as minus 5. So next we are trying to print the ceil of 5.6. So here this is a positive number, so ceiling will be the number just above it, so the answer will be 6. After that I am trying to print the floor. Okay, so floor means the lower value. So if I write minus 7.5, the higher integer of this is minus 7 and the lower integer of this is minus 8. So as we are looking for floor, the answer will be minus 8. Now after that I am trying to print the floor of 7.5. Now for 7.5, the higher value is going to be 8 and lower value is 7. So the floor value will be 7. So the next print statement, we are going to work with a function called fabs. This will just print out the absolute value of minus 10.6, and next print statement will print the absolute value of minus 5, so it will just remove the sign and print it. And after that we have the last print statement where we have a function to find the factorial. You remember in the previous chapter we have written one complete program to find the factorial of a number. So you don't have to do that because it is actually coming part of Python built-in module. So if you know that this module exists, then you don't have to write the program. You can just finish the task with one single line. So this function factorial will find the factorial of 5 and the answer 120 will be printed out. But you have to be very careful when you attempt with the module functions, because sometime in the question paper it will be written like without using inbuilt functions you have to find the factorial of a number. In that case you have to write your own code to find the factorial. So now let us run this program. So our program is ready. So before running it, I will just comment this line. Okay, so now my program is not importing the math module, and inside my program I am trying to access the math module. So now when I run the program, it will give error. So I will save it and run it. So you can see I got an error. Okay, it says that name math is not defined, and the interpreter don't understand what is this math. All right, so now I will just remove this comment. So now I am importing the math module, and now everything should work properly. So now I will save it, I will run it. So now you see I got all the answers. So here you can see, as expected, we have the answers. A ceiling of minus 5.6 is minus 5, ceiling of 5.6 is 6, and floor of minus 7.5 is minus 8, and floor of 7.5 is 7, and after that the absolute value of minus 10.6 is 10.6. So I told you the absolute value function will just remove the negative sign and print the result. Now the next print statement will remove the negative sign and print 5 as the answer. Now finally you can see the factorial function defined inside math module took the value 5 and it found out the factorial, which is 120, and returned the control to here. So this entire thing will be evaluated to 120, and now the print will print it to the result. So now let us continue. Now in this program also we will be continuing with math module. Okay, so here we are going to see some more functions called fmod, gcd, power, square root, and the trigonometric function sine. So now let us see each function one at a time. So the fmod is actually your modulo operator. So it will do 5 modulo 3. So the result will be 2. Okay, and whatever is the sign of the first operator, which is 5, that will be given to the answer. So if I have minus 5 modulo 3, the answer will be minus 2. But if I have 5 modulo minus 3, the answer will be positive 2 itself. So that is why I told you the result will take the sign of the first operand. So here you can see the result will be positive 2. Now the next print statement, we are modulo dividing minus 5 with 3. So here the result will be minus 2 because the first operand is negative. Now the third print statement will print again positive 2 because the first operand is positive. Now after that, the next print statement, you can find the greatest common divisor of 10 and 5. By giving the value to this function, it will return the greatest common divisor as the answer. Now we have the POW function here, 4.52. This function will find the result of 4.5 raised to 2 and print the value. Now after that we have square root of 25. So this will find the square root of 25 and the result will be printed out. Now we can also print the square root of floating point number, so it will find the square root of 10.5 and it will give the result. We can also print the result of sine, cos, tan. All these functions are defined inside math module. So we are just trying to print the result of sine 0. You should understand the value that you give here should be in radians, okay, not in degree. So sine 0, the result will be printed out. So now let us run this program and see the results. So now our program is ready. I will just execute. So we have the result. So you can see the first three F modes, right? It returns 2, -2 and 2. And why the second result is -2? Because in the second print statement you can see the first operator is negative. Now after that, the next one, the greatest common divisor of 10 and 5, because you know the result is 5, so you can see the answer is coming as 5. And after that, when you raise 4.5 with the power of 2, you will get the result 20.25. And you find the square root of 25, that is 5. And you find the square root of 10.5, the result is 3.24 something. And sine 0 will give the result as 0. So now with this program, we are going to stop the math module. In the next slide, we are going to start with random module. Now before we go to random module, if you want to find out the entire functions listed inside math module, you can give help. In quotes, you can give the module name. So here I want to check for module math. So after that, you can press enter. You have to do it in the terminal, right? So I will just increase this so that you can see it. Okay. And now I will press enter. You can see this is the description of math module. So you can see this is where it starts, right? So the name of the module is math. You can see the description. This module provides access to mathematical functions as defined in C programming standard. So C is another programming language which was developed in 1980s. It is considered as the basic programming language for all other programming languages. So they have designed this mathematical module according to the standards defined in C programming language. So here you can see these are all the functions: a cos h, a sine h, a tan. It goes like that. It's a big list. So here you can see the factorial which we have used, fabs which we have used, floor we have seen it now, f mode we have used it. It goes like that, right? So it's a big module, right? A lot of functions are here. So you can see power, sine we have used it, square root, all these things, right? So here it ends. So for any module, you want to check how many functions are there, or maybe before you write a function yourself, I would recommend you to check the built-in modules, because maybe in built-in modules it is already done. Then you don't have to program it yourself. Like the example I have given for factorial, right? You don't have to write the program. It is already there, coded, ready for you by the Python built-in module. You just have to use it. You just have to import it and call it. You will get the result. Now we will go to the next built-in module. Now this program is used to demonstrate the function inside a random module. So first of all, you should import the module called random. I have many functions inside random. You can see the first function is called random itself. There is another function called randint. There is another function called randrange. Okay, so we'll be studying about these three functions which is defined inside our random module. Now if you call the random function inside the random module without any arguments, now in that case it will return a value between 0.0 and 1.0, right? And the value returned will be random. So we cannot predict that this number is going to be printed as a result. So first time when you run it, maybe the answer will come as 0.6713569, a big number. You see this number 0.671 something is between 0.0 and 1.0. Now you run this statement again. Next time you might get 0.413 something. So that is why I told you the result will be random. Now we go to the next two print statements. There we are going to study randint. Alright, so here you can specify between which range of numbers you want random numbers to be printed. So if I give the range between 1 and 20 and you run the first statement, the result will be maybe 11. Okay, next time when you run it may be 13. Next time you run it may be 3. So the value that is returned will be always between 1 and 20. Okay, based on the arguments that you give for the function randint defined inside module random. Now the next print statement, the only difference is that the range is given in negative numbers. So -10 to -5. So any value between them will be printed as the random value. Now after that we have something called rand range. Now here you can specify either one argument or you can specify two argument. Either way it will give the result. If you give one argument, then it will assume the range between 0 and 6. So it will assume that the first value is 0 and it has to stop at 6, and it will give the random value between 0 and 6. And here you should use only positive value. So with rand range you cannot use negative value, it will give error, right? But with rand int you can have negative value and positive value. Now the last print statement, you can use rand range with two values. So the difference is that the start value will be 10 and the stop value will be 20, and rand range will produce a number between them each time you run it. So now let us run the program and see how this function works. So now let me execute the program. So here you can see the first print statement will print a random number between 0.0 and 1.0. So you can see this is the random number I got. So when I run this program again, after explaining all the output, you can see the entire output will change because these are random numbers. Next time when I run, I should not get the same result. Now after that, the next print statement over here, it will print a random number between 1 and 20. You can see we got number 9. Now next print statement will print a random number between -10 and -5. So randomly it selected -10 from the list. Now after that, next print statement is trying to print random numbers from range 0 to 6, right? So it has selected 0, the first number itself. It is random, it's not like it is selecting the first element, okay? It is random. Next time when I run, you will see the 0 will be maybe 4, maybe 5, maybe 3. It will change. Now the last print statement selects a value between 10 and 20 and it has selected 11. So now let me run this program once again. All 5 output is getting changed each time you run. So based on the requirement of your program, you have to select which random function inside random module will suit your purpose, and you can use that. So now we go to the next module. Now this program we will use to demonstrate the functions of statistics module. So this is a third built-in module that we are going to study. So the first line, I have to import the module with name statistics. So here I will be using 3 functions inside statistics module, which is a function called mean, median and mode. And mode I will use for numerical values and strings. In the first print statement, I will find the mean, that is the average of all these numbers. So it will add 2 plus 34 plus 56 plus 78 plus 90 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 divided by 5. Whatever is the result, that will be printed out, x dot y. Okay, so that will be printed out. Now median will find out which value comes in the middle, okay, in the given list. So here you can see if I take 56, two values, 2 and 34 is less than it, and 78 and 90 is greater than it. So 56 is the middle value. So that will be printed as the result. And mode function will identify which value repeats the most in the list. So here you can see 2 is repeating 3 times. So that is the most frequently occurring element in this list. So that is the mode value. So 2 will be printed as a result. Mode can also be used with strings. So in this list you can see the word in is repeating 2 times. So the result will be printed as in. That is the mode value. So now let us run this program. So now let us execute it. So here you can see the result. So the average of these 5 numbers is identified as 52. Now the median of these 5 numbers is 56. I already discussed with you, so that is printed out. Now the mode of all these numbers is 2 because 2 is repeating the most amount of time. So that is printed out. And the mode of the string values, the answer is in because in is coming twice. Now next we are going to study about from statement. Okay, now it is used to load only specific functions from a module. I'll explain to you what is the advantage of doing that. Now how can you do that? You write from, after that you write the module name, after that you write the keyword import, followed by that you write the functions which you want from this module. So only these functions will be imported to your program, not the entire module. So in this example, you can see I am importing only 2 functions from math module. So I will write from the module name, which is math, then import the first function that I am importing is floor, and the second function that I am importing is square root. And after that, I can simply call this function with just the function name. So that's the second difference. I don't have to write math.floor to access this function. Okay, so and similarly here, I don't have to write math.sqrt to access this function. Why? Because you particularly loaded those functions from the module. Now if you just use import math, so in this case entire functions inside math will be loaded to the program, and after that if you want to use the function, you have to use the module name followed by the function name. So now let me explain to you why you have to specifically load functions from a module. Now I'm just going to give an example when the from statement is actually advantageous for us. So we have a module here. Now the name of module is calc.py. Now inside this module I have defined 4 functions: add, multiply, subtract and divide. Assume that each of these functions has 10 lines inside it, right? And altogether calc.py has 40 lines of code. Now I want to write a Python program, and the name of the program is program.py. Now in this program, I know that I require only this one single function which adds 2 numbers. So the other 3 functions is not required for my program's working. So if I write import calc, and inside my program if I use the function add, my function will work for sure, no problem with that. The issue here is that this entire calc module, which has 40 lines in it, will be loaded to my program. So my program size will increase by 40 lines of code. But if I know that I require only this one single function in this module, why I have to load all other functions? Right? It is simply increasing the size of my program. So in that case, I can use the from statement. I can write from calc import add. So when this statement is executed by the interpreter will not load the entire 40 lines. It will select only the function add and bring it to my program. So my program will have only the 10 lines of code which is actually required for adding 2 numbers. The other functions will not be imported. So by selectively importing the functions which you require inside your program, you can reduce the size of your source code, and it actually will take less amount of memory for your program to run. So you should understand this program may not be running inside a computer which has a large amount of memory. Maybe it is running inside a phone, or maybe it is running inside your TV where it has a very limited memory. So we have to be very careful in importing the functions, right? Now we have seen that in math module at least 20 to 25 functions are defined. So if you require only 1 or 2 functions, why you have to import the entire module and simply increase the size of your program? So it is always logical to use from statement and then selectively load the functions which you most require inside your program. Alright, so with this we finished the theoretical part of chapter 7. In the next video we will be covering many programs related to function, and we also have program where we will write our own module, import it to our program and make the functions work which are defined inside the module. Okay, so see you in the next video. Bye.